decided that we could become great friends. I like you all more than I can express, and my first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me after we've known each other for such a comparatively short time. Please sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
Then everything is settled, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this may be a favourable opportunity of my mentioning of who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. I suppose you never heard of Papa?
No, I don't think so.
Pa, I'm glad to say, is entirely unknown. And I think this is how it should be. A home is a proper sphere for a man, and certainly once a man starts to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Mamma, whose views on education are remarkably strict, have brought me up to be extremely short-sighted because it is part of the system. So, may I look at you for my glasses?
Yes, Gwendolyn, I'm very fond of being looked at.
You're here on a short visit, I suppose?
Oh no, I live here.
With your mother, or no doubt another female relative advanced years resides here also?
Oh no, I have no mother. Nor, in fact, any relations.
Indeed.
Yes, my guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prison, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I'm Mr. Worthing's ward.
He never mentioned to me he had a ward. How secret of him. He grows more interesting hourly. But, however, I cannot help but express that now I know that you're Mr. Earnest Worthing's ward, I cannot help, well, wish you were older than you seem to be, and a little less alluring in appearance, and, if I may speak so candidly...
Oh, pray do. I think whenever one has something unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, perfect candle. Cecily, I wish you were fully 42, and I'm usually playing for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He's the very soul of truth and honour, and disloyalty would be impossible to him as deception. But even men of the most noble possible moral character are extremely susceptible to influences of others. Modern, no less than ancient history, supplies painful examples of what I refer to, and if it were not so, history would be painfully unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn, but did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, but it is not Ernest Worthing who's my guardian. It's his brother, his elder brother.
Never mentioned to me, brother.
I'm afraid to say they've not been on good terms for quite a long time.
Oh, that accounts for it. And now that I think of it, I've never heard a man mention his brother. The subject seems quite distasteful, does it not? Cecily, you lifted a load from my mind. I was almost growing anxious. It would have been terrible if any cloud came across a friendship like ours, would it not? But you are quite certain that Mr. Earnest Worthing is not your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon?
Dear Gwendolyn, there's no reason why I should make a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
This is quite curious. But, Cecily, Mr. Earnest Worthing is engaged to me, and it will appear in the Morning Post Saturday at the latest.
I believe you must be under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
This is certainly quite curious, but Mr. Earnest Worthing asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the day. My dear Cecily, I'm sorry this is any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid to say I have the prior claim.
Dear Gwendolyn, it would hurt me more than I can tell you if it caused you any mental or physical anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has been entrapped into any foolish entanglement, I will consider it my duty to rescue him at once with a firm hand.
Whatever entanglement my dear boy might have gotten into, I will not reproach him with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous, and on occasions such as this, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you! This is no time for wearing the shallow masks of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I'm glad to say I have never seen a spade.
any. From one of the hills quite close by, you can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that's why you live in town.
What a quite well-kept garden you have in this Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I didn't know there were so many flowers in the country.
Ah, flower is as common here, Miss Fairfax, as people are in London.
I don't understand how anyone manages to exist out here, if anybody is, who anybody does. The country always pours into them.
Ah, this is what the newspapers are calling agricultural depression, is it not? I heard the aristocracy is suffering quite a bit from it just at present. It's almost an epidemic amongst them. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Yes. Detestable girl. I want tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter? Cake is not fashionable anymore. I see. You put sugar in my tea, and even though I asked precisely for bread and butter, you've given me cake. Miss Cardew, I know for my gentleness of my disposition and my extraordinary sweetness of my nature. But I warn you, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
The moment I met you, I distrusted you. I knew you were false and deceitful. I am never deceived in such matters. And my first impressions of people are always right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, I am trespassing on your valuable time. No doubt you have many other calls of similar character to make in the vicinity.
Sydney.